you can see them repeating the same stupid mistakes today. And those mistakes, you go through history and you see something that's happened 100 times in the past, and then you see them doing the same thing to our currency supply today. The same, you know, in the US, the deficit spending is out of control. And the currency creation, if you, well, we'll put up a chart of base money in the United States. So it's a chart of the cash in circulation, currency in circulation, plus the deposits that the commercial banks have at the Federal Reserve. And it took 200 years to go from $0 in existence, paper dollars, to 825 billion paper dollars that exist. And then it took just a few months to go from that to about 1.75 trillion. And that was with the Bear Stearns, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac bailouts. And then we had, in March of 2008, March of 2009, they announced another 1.2 trillion dollars worth of, and part of that is actually purchasing bonds directly from the Treasury. Now, when they do that, that's just printing currency. That's like just running the printing press. But so the total comes to about 3 trillion paper dollars that will exist very shortly here. That's an I mean, from 825 billion to 3 trillion is an expansion of almost 4 times. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
So there will be more this printed than ever before, which means the dollar keeps coming down and other things keep going up. And that's really what's going to happen. It's predictable. And eventually this will go to its true worth, 0. So all of you savers out there and people trying to save this trash, you're going to lose big time.
They just type them into a computer, the dollars. They don't have to print them anymore. It used to be that you had to mint coinage to expand the currency supply. Then you had to print paper to expand the currency supply. But now all you do is you add zeros to it. Just and boom, you know, it's 10 times.
They don't even have to print this trash anymore.
Right.
It's electronic. That is how fast it's going to hit people.
Well, throughout history, whenever societies create a whole bunch of units of currency, you know, they start off with a certain amount of money in their society, gold and silver, and they come out with representations of gold and silver, like paper notes or debased coinage, where you're mixing it with copper, and they increase the currency supply. And gold and silver sort of lays dormant, it lays in wait until the public realizes, they start to sense the inflation of prices that are caused by the inflation of the currency supply. True inflation is the inflation of the currency supply. Rising prices are the symptom of the monetary inflation. And then they rush back toward gold and silver to protect their purchasing power, and in doing so, they bid the price up until it accounts for the currency supply. It's an amazing process, and I show this in my book, Rich Dad's Advisor's Guide to Investing in Gold and Silver. There's a couple of charts in there. With the Federal Reserve, we have hard data, and I've got some data from the Weimar hyperinflation, where gold went from 100 marks an ounce to 87 trillion marks an ounce. But what you see with the Federal Reserve data is that the price of gold, the will of the public and the free markets do this over and over and over again throughout history. They bid the price of gold and silver up. So with the price of gold, the gold at the U.S. Treasury rose in 1934 till its value equaled the value of all the paper dollars in existence that promised to pay gold. In 1980, it did the same thing.
Never in the history of the world has this ever happened. In 1971, the U.S. and Nixon convinced the entire world to replace gold and silver with paper money. This stuff. Cash is trash.
We had to abandon Bretton Woods because the U.S. vaults were basically getting cleaned out.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
Because the Bretton Woods system had put the whole world on a dollar standard, all countries on the planet were backing their currency with dollars. The dollar was then backed by gold at $35 an ounce, meaning that all currencies were pegged to gold through the dollar, and they didn't fluctuate. They weren't floating on the foreign currency exchange. All currencies remained pegged to one another through the dollar to gold. When we unpegged from gold in 1971, when Nixon closed the gold window, all currencies became free-floating, or I call them free-falling against gold. They don't actually float. The dollar used to be worth 1/20th of an ounce of gold. Today it's 1/1000th of an ounce, and it's on its way toward less than 1/10,000th pretty soon. Once he unpegged, gold rose, and it went from 35 to 200 in 74, back down to 100 by late 76, and then up to 850 by 1980. In doing so, in one of the other graphs in my book, I show that it covered the entire currency supply of the base money, it's called, the paper dollars that exist, at about $400 or $500 an ounce. The value of all the gold at the Treasury was equivalent to all the gold, or all the paper dollars that existed. So there was a year where we could have gone back on the gold standard. Then at about $600 or $650 an ounce, it also covered all outstanding revolving credit or unpaid.